Welcome back to China in the Hill, your central weekly update on the U.S. China news and policy debates unfolding in Washington, D.C. and beyond. Today, we're here to break down the latest in U.S. China relations, from Taiwan's $40 billion 8-year defense plan to the rapid expansion of Chinese food and beverage brands across the U.S. restaurant scene. Let's get into it. A series of new bills was introduced this week, focused on export controls, cyber threats, and the rapidly evolving AI landscape. A new proposal would amend the Export Control Reform Act of 2018 to create a whistleblower incentive program and strengthen protections for individuals who report potential violations. A parallel measure would revise the State Department Basic Authorities Act to establish a similar whistleblower incentive system, specifically for defense export control enforcement. Lawmakers also introduced a bill to authorize sanctions against designated critical cyber threat actors, aiming to tighten the government's ability to respond to foreign cyber operations targeting U.S. infrastructure and national security. On the artificial intelligence front, the AI Fraud Deterrence Act would heighten penalties for financial crimes committed using artificial intelligence, reflecting growing concern over AI-enabled scams. Another proposal, the AI for America Act, seeks to codify a national AI strategy focused on bolstering U.S. technological leadership, reducing regulatory barriers, and ensuring data security and integrity. Last week, Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te announced an 8-year $40 billion defense budget starting in 2026 to build a new air and missile defense network, known as the Taiwan Dome. The plan comes amid U.S. pressure for Taipei to boost defense spending. Lai, who previewed the plan in a Washington Post op-ed, said the special budget would be used to purchase U.S. arms, stressing that it is unrelated to ongoing tariff negotiations. He also underscored Taiwan's position within the First Island chain, and argued that the island must assume greater responsibility for its own defense. The U.S. State Department welcomed the announcement, and Taiwan's Defense Ministry said the funds will support precision strike systems and joint development programs with the United States. In related news, China is pressing Britain and France to align with Beijing after Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, suggested Tokyo could intervene militarily if China were to attack Taiwan. Last Thursday in Beijing, China's top diplomat Wang Yi met with Jonathan Powell, the UK's national security advisor, and the following day spoke by phone with Emmanuel Bon, the French president's foreign policy advisor. In both conversations, Wang urged the two countries to uphold the One China principle and to safeguard the outcomes of World War II. Analysts say that Beijing's outreach is aimed at discouraging Europe from deepening ties with Taipei, following a series of recent interactions, including a canceled German ministerial visit to Beijing following comments criticizing China's actions in the Taiwan Strait, a speech by Taiwan's vice president at the European Parliament, and former Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen's appearance at a Berlin conference. In science and tech news, U.S. China collaboration in technology research has fallen to its lowest level in 2 decades, according to new data from the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. Only about a quarter of China's international research collaborations now involve U.S. partners, down from more than half a decade ago, even as China accounts for nearly 40% of global research output and leads in most critical technologies. While collaboration between the U.S. and China once drove advances in fields such as genomics, energy efficiency, and agriculture, Chinese researchers are now deepening ties with partners such as Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Belarus. The report warns that the decline could reshape global innovation and risks a bifurcation where democracies lose access to Chinese research and have less influence over emerging technology standards. Restrictions under the United States' China Initiative in 2018 contributed to the decline, and Congress is now weighing measures that could further impose limits on joint research. This research disengagement extends beyond the United States. Funding for Australia-China research partnerships have fallen sharply since 2019, and the UK has also tightened risk assessment rules, contributing to reduced collaboration. In other news, a growing number of Chinese food and beverage brands are entering the U.S. market as they seek relief from China's oversaturated restaurant sector. Brands such as Hey Tea, Nice Snow, Luckin Coffee, Wallace, and Hai Di Lao are opening new stores in big cities to escape China's hyper-competitive restaurant market. Hey Tea, a chain with 4,000 stores operating in China, has opened 36 U.S. locations since 2023, while rivals like Nice Snow and Cha Chi launched their first locations this year. Wallace, a major fast food chain with more than 20,000 outlets in China, plans to open at least 10 more locations across the U.S. by the end of next year. Investors say China's food service industry is suffering from severe oversupply, pushing brands abroad in search for better margins. However, chains entering the U.S. must adapt to local tastes, with companies such as Haidilao adjusting menu items, spice levels, service styles, and pricing after initial localization troubles. Finally, China has issued its first batch of year-long general licenses for rare earth exports, expected to speed up shipments after months of disruption following new export controls introduced in April. The licenses are part of agreements reached during the Trump-Xi meeting in October and currently only apply to major Chinese rare earth producers. Despite the new approvals, Beijing has not signaled any broader rollback of its export control regime, and companies in Europe report continued delays and limited transparency. It also remains unclear how widely the licenses will be issued, and if customers in sensitive sectors, such as aerospace or semiconductors, will be excluded. At the same time, a report from the Wall Street Journal shows that Chinese rare earth magnet companies are finding workarounds by altering magnet formulas to avoid restricted heavy rare earths, or exporting magnets already embedded in motors and other products that do not require export licenses. And that's all for this week's edition of China on the Hill. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe to our Substack for the latest updates, full transcripts, and bonus content. Link in the description. For more from the National Committee, check out our other podcast episodes wherever you listen, or visit our YouTube channel for in-depth discussions, interviews, and analysis. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.